Think of active scanning like knocking on the door or knocking on multiple doors and seeing how it responds. It's our way of saying hello to networks and seeing how it responds. So unlike passive scanning, we're not just going to observe, we're going to interact with the systems and see how they respond. So in this next part series, we're going to dive in, chat to those systems, and see what they're all about. We've got some cool tools to play with, and they're pretty awesome at getting those systems to talk. So first up, we'll dive into domain enumeration. So we'll look at a tool called Ffuf, F-F-U-F, just like that. We have it installed by default in Kali Linux. Now, what is Ffuf, you may be asking? Ffuf is just going to be a web fuzzer tool that's written in Go. It allows for typical directory discovery, host discovery without DNS, and basically directory brute forcing. Think of it like that. Same domain name that we gave it, Metasploitable, in the etc host file. So just to look at cat etc host, we see our 2.18 is linked to Metasploitable. So we know by typing in Metasploitable, it resolves to this IPv4 address and vice versa. So we're good there. Now we'll go ahead and do ffuf --help to see the different arguments that we may have. So we see there's quite a few. So -h for the header options, -x for HTTP method, whether you want to use get, post, input, things like that. So -b cookie data, CC client cert for authentication, and then multiples of these different arguments that you can specify. But we're going to keep it pretty simple and just look at the example usage and then just use the standard ffuf -w to specify a word list, and then -u to specify the URL that we want to fuzz. And then fuzz, by entering this parameter fuzz over here, we're specifying which part of the domain to brute force. So we're going to do directory brute forcing within example.org. And this argument over here, that we're going to match all status codes. FS, if we want to see what FS is, we can scroll up here, filter HTTP response sizes. To that only 42. Now we see -c. What is -c going to be doing? Just scroll up. This is pretty easy to use and follow. So -c, that's -cc, -c, colorize the output, kind of make it more easy on the eyes, make it a little bit easier on the eyes. And then -v for verbosity. What we'll want to use is the seclist, which will not be installed by default in Kali, I don't think. So we'll go ahead and just do a apt install seclist, just so we can go ahead and download it. Now you may be asking, what is seclist? Well, seclist is a collection of multiple types of lists used during security assessments. It includes usernames, passwords, URLs, sensitive data grep strings, fuzzing payloads, and many more. So think of it as just a bunch of lists, breach passwords, credentials, and things like that, all organized that you can use to help test instead of using the list that you may have to come up on the spot. So these are already made. These are actual real data that's been used in past breaches that are all allocated in these different lists. So it's pretty easy, makes it nice, and we'll go ahead and give it a few minutes to download. So I'm going to go pause it here, and then we'll unpause it once it finishes. Now the download has finished. Now if we do a ls etc or ls user share and then just sec, we'll see now we have the seclist directory. Then we have discovery, fuzzing, IOCs, miscellaneous, passwords, payloads, usernames, web shells. Now we have all the word lists downloaded. We can proceed with using Ffuf. Now let's kick off a domain enumeration with Ffuf, a powerful tool for discovering elements that aren't immediately visible to a website. So how does Ffuf work? Well, it works by rapidly sending a bunch of requests with different inputs to find hidden directories, subdomains, or files. So we'll start something simple with Ffuf, and then specify -w for the word list, user share seclist. Then we'll go ahead and look for discovery. Now we'll look for web content, and then you see all these different files over here. So we go ahead and find something like directory list lowercase 2.3 medium.txt. So just something simple, or directory list 2.3 medium txt, doesn't really matter. So we specify that. Now -u for the URL, http://metasploitable, and then you'll do fuzz because we're going to fuzz for different directories. With this command over here, what we're showing is we're using wordlist to replace fuzz. So this wordlist over here will be used to replace this fuzz word over here, or this keyword, with potential directory names, hunting for those that return a successful HTTP response. So it'll just test for this parameter. Go ahead and hit enter, and then we'll see what we find. Looks like we found index, test, twiki, and it'll just keep going up until it goes through every single file or every single line in that file. TikiWiki, and then it's just going to do its thing. So we'll go ahead and pause it and wait for this to finish. Might take a few minutes or so. So now we see PHP info, server status, PHP my admin. So it looks like we found a few more directories. Let's go ahead and open up our browser and then go to Metasploitable. So http://metasploitable and then /php info. Now this is something that could provide us very useful information. It talks about the PHP version running on the web server. So system Linux Metasploitable 2.6.24-16 server API, configuration file where it's located, and things like that, the configuration, and so forth and so on. Let's see what else is on here. So server status, let's see if that's server-status, see if that'll just, okay, so we don't have permission to access that, followed by the 403 errors, so access denied. Let's try PHP my admin. Now we found the PHP my admin portal. So this is a login portal for the PHP admins of Metasploitable. So this actual web server, Metasploitable 2, this actual VM, this is the admin portal for this Metasploitable machine. So pretty neat find. That's something we could definitely document and potentially brute force the username and password field, or maybe try different injection attacks and things like that. So that's going to be later on into the exploitation section.